As we dive into this show, Sam, I was a huge fan of the game. I enjoyed it. Everything happened the way I thought it should have, which in my mind, I've talked about star for star. Paul George for Karl-Anthony Towns. It's like playing poker. I see your ace and I raise you, or I see your 100, I raise you 100. Why? Because you might have ace king. I got ace king. Which suit is going to help us on the flop, on the river, on the turn? Well, if you look at this Timberwolves team, the ace king didn't work out. It was Jack 10 suited versus ace. Jack 10 is going to be my Anthony Edwards and my D'Angelo Russell. They were suited, though. What else happened? On the flop, you had help from other guys on the team. But the big key was the other team had no help with their hand. Reggie Jackson only gave Paul George 17 points. And I think that's the key. Karl-Anthony Towns might have only gave him 11, but their 30 and 29 not only nullified Paul George's 30 plus, but then Reggie's 17 couldn't really do much. And then they needed another person. And it just wasn't there. I mean, when you jump into the stats and you look into the numbers and you look at Malik Beasley giving him 12 points with some huge threes down the stretch. I mean, that was a big piece. You look at Naz Reid giving him 8. You look at Jared Vanderbilt with the key 10 rebounds. You know, and he didn't do a ton from a points perspective, but when Karl-Anthony Towns was getting double teamed, he was in the right place at the right time. Karl just couldn't stay in the game long enough to continue to do that. Every time they were going to double team Karl-Anthony Towns, and he should have found Jared Vanderbilt a lot more than he did. And I think that's the key for the team. I mean, honestly, though, Malik Beasley's 12. That was the biggest 12 points that I think the crowd needed, the players needed to see the ball go into the hoop. If Malik Beasley doesn't make those threes, it might be a different ball game. The celebration, of course, we know what happened. You know, Charles Barkley, Shaq, they're making fun of him. They're playing the one shining moment. They're saying, is Chris Finch going to take his shirt off in the locker room? And are they going to spray water on him like he just won the Final Four and he's headed to the big dance? And honestly, I was there laughing all night on Twitter. I'm not going to lie. I was right there laughing all night because it was funny. The Kevin Garnett memes, everything. I even tweeted my own. That's 3Ron Johnson at Twitter. But what ended up happening as I thought about it this morning and as I watched Patrick Beverley continue to tweet, as I saw the thought process, you have to look at the bigger picture of this. People are saying it's been 18 and 19 years. It hasn't. They went in 2017-18 to the playoffs with Jimmy Butler. But again, that's one of those you want to wipe away from the books. You don't want to remember Jimmy Butler's time here. But when you think about George Floyd, you think about the pandemic, you think about Dante Wright, you think about all the riots, the looting, the burning, the hurt, the anger, the pain. I think that was a demon that was exercised. I think that's what Patrick Beverley was trying to say. Also, think about Patrick Beverley. Imagine your girlfriend or boyfriend breaking up with you, saying, I'm going to move on from you. I got some other stuff in the works. And then you happen to run into them. And when you run into them, you absolutely show them you're living your best life. That's where Patrick Beverley was at. The Clippers didn't want him. They traded him. He got sent to Minnesota, and in people's minds, Minnesota wasn't going to do what the Clippers were going to do because they had Kawhi Leonard and Paul George. And so everybody assumed the Clippers are still the Clippers and the Timberwolves, we're just going to send them off. Well, that's what he was celebrating. His teammates were celebrating for him as well, but also coming from nothing, team is sold off to Alex Rodriguez and Mark Lowry, and then now you're here with this 46-win team now clinching the 7th seed. I think that's what the emotion was because nobody had faith in them. Nobody had faith in Patrick Beverley. Nobody thought that core, that three. They weren't calling them a big three. They were just saying Karl-Anthony Towns, Anthony Edwards, and hey, we'll throw in D'Angelo Russell because we're just going to do it. Well, it came through. It worked out. When Karl-Anthony Towns went down, the other big two came to play. Almost 60 points from two players. And I think that's the key for me, Sam. That's for me where I think everything came from, and it all came together at the right time. Hopefully, this is momentum going into these games versus the Grizzlies. They played so well that Shaq and Barkley both feel like the Timberwolves can get it done. Now, Kenny Smith, he's sticking with the Grizzlies. But I think the length of Anthony Edwards, he showed it last night, his strength with Paul George, how they continue to keep him, aggravated. Pat Beverly on John Moran as well. That's going to frustrate him. It's going to be a good one. It's going to be a good one. Karl-Anthony Towns is going to have to deal with the bigs. We'll see if the Grizzlies do what the Clippers did, which is double Karl-Anthony Towns as soon as he gets in the hole. Hopefully now he can watch film and realize I got to dump it off sooner. The minute I feel that double team, I have to know Jared Vanderbilt or Naz Reid. Somebody is behind these guys ready to make a dunk. But what do you think, Sam? How did you enjoy this game?
I enjoyed every minute. I mean, so many unsung heroes. How about Naz Reid coming on for Cat after he fouled out? Naz Reid plus 17 in the plus minus. Beasley hit, I think, two of the biggest shots of the game, and you alluded to this. They're down 9 going into the end of the third quarter. Beasley hits a buzzer beater, down 6. Huge psychological lift. And then there was that broken play in transition when they were down 6. Beasley hits another corner 3. They pull within 3. They pull within 1 possession. That was part of that huge run they went on to end the game. Timely shooting. The offense was not that good either way. I mean, it's clear like the aesthetic of basketball just changes when it's the playoffs. Both teams defended really well, particularly for the Wolves. There was nothing for them at the rim. Absolutely nothing. Cat was getting frustrated. He was getting doubled. The Clippers have a lot of defensive length down low. Fortunately for the Wolves, they didn't have a lot of offensive juice inside, but defensively, they were really tough. So if the Wolves weren't hitting from distance, if Ant wasn't hitting those shots, if Beasley and Russell weren't hitting those shots, I think they lose that game handily. I mean, they needed to shoot from the outside last night. That was the only way they were going to stay in that game with really no inside presence. As hard as they tried to attack, they had foul trouble. And they persevered past all of that. They persevered past the glue gal, the glue girl.
She was the unsung hero. I mean, if you think about it, she gave them an additional timeout. They got time to calm down, cool the Clippers off. They came back after that. Like I think she deserves. I mean, she's in jail probably, but she deserves a jersey or something, a pat on the back. I mean, she was just trying to fight for animal rights. So I got to give Glue Gal her just due as well.
Yeah. I think I saw that she was on some kind of Twitter live video. I think she's free. I don't think she's in custody any longer, so that's good. But yeah, I like your point. Maybe we can debate this a little bit about Russell as part of the big three, because I'm not sure anyone else gets you 29 points on a bad Cat night. I mean, you needed him to join Ant, and if 2 out of your big 3 are working, then that's the point of having a big 3. You know all 3 aren't going to be working. Like when you're playing golf, you got driver, you got irons, and you got putter. If 2 out of 3 are working, it's probably going to be a pretty good day. If it's 1 out of 3, probably not. And they had 2 out of 3 last night.